Hey guys, so there's a few new people in the group and I wanted to do a quick back to the basics Lightroom tutorial. So let's dive in. I want to go over editing first. So let's start at the top. So here is where you can see all of the info on this image. I shot it at ISO 320. I used a 50mm lens. My aperture or f-stop was 2.2 and my shutter speed was 1/4000 of a second. So that's where I know all of my things. And let's go down to the tools here. So first off, we can use our crop tool. This is also easier to just press the R key on the keyboard, but there's some cool things in here. You can do a custom, original, or you can use all of these sizes, enter a custom size. I love the angle tool. This tool is great when you have some weird angles going on in this image. So you can see the rafters up here are a little crooked. So I'm just going to drag that along a straight line of the rafter and it will center and make my image more straight. Okay, we've got our red eye tool, we've got our clone stamp tool. So if I wanted to remove something, for example, there's this thing on the ground, I could use that. Red eye tool is awesome. Gosh, I don't know what is wrong with me. I forget what this tool is called every time, and somebody always reminds me of it. But it's a Radial Filter, I believe. And this is really cool, and I'll show you why. So you can use this. Say I want to make the top half of this image brighter. I can up the exposure. Click and drag down and that will brighten up my image. So that's pretty cool. Here's another radial filter, but it is a circle, so I could do the same there. And then we've got our brush tool that we could, bring down our exposure and brush in whatever we need to do, as you can see. So those are our tools. And now we've got our white balance, we've got our white balance dropper. So if there is a true white or black in this image, you can use this. And that's kind of a brown, that's kind of a black. There's not really a black in here, but you can correct your color balance off of that if there's a true white or a true black. If not, you can just use the temperature slider. Blue is cooler, yellow is warmer. You can put more magenta or more green and kind of even this image out. You've got your exposure slider, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, texture, clarity, and dehaze. Dehazing is really cool. It'll add a lot of punch to your image, along with the contrast slider will too. Vibrance, you can change how vibrant your image is here. And same with saturation. This is your tone curve. So down here are your blacks and up here are your whites. You can put a little curve on there, down your blacks and up your whites, and it'll add a little punch too. The HSL color panel here is pretty neat. If you want to take out some red, you can just dial back that slider, and if you want to take out some yellow, you can see how dramatic that is. So this is color grading. I don't use it a lot, but you can take color out of the shadows and highlights and whatnot. Detail, you can add sharpening, and you can add noise reduction. If you have a very, very fuzzy image, you can up this noise reduction. Also, if you have too much texture in your image, this helps that too. The lens corrections, a lot of lenses nowadays come with their own corrections. If you don't want that, you can press this and you could see that image got flatter. And you can use different lens profiles and mess with the distortion. You can barely see that, but she's getting wider and then thinner. Vignetting is fun to play with too. You can vignette or, and then transform is really cool. If you're shooting like a building or something and you want it to not look distorted, you can actually move this image around to make it look a certain way. You can do horizontal, shift, all kinds of things. So effects, I don't use a lot of this, but you can mess with your vignetting again. I think it's redundant. And then you can also add some grain. So calibration is another one that I don't really use a lot of, but it's kind of redundant again and is like the HSL slider. So you can mess with the tones here and the shadows, all this kinds of stuff. So that is a super quick rundown on the editing tools and sliders and all the things in Lightroom.